Hey guys, Vinnie Mirchandani again. A real pleasure to have Tara Gambill from Mod Pizza. Many of you haven't heard of Mod Pizza, but it is pretty damn fine pizza. And she's calling in from the state of Washington. So, Tara, come on board and tell us a little bit about yourself and tell the audience about the wonderful things that Mod does.
Well, thanks for having me, Vinny. It's great to see you.
Uh,
Yeah, Mod Pizza, thank you for that great intro. Mod Pizza was founded in 2008 outside of the Seattle, Washington area. And it was really a concept of pizza as a platform. And it is amazing pizza, but it's really what we do with our platform in our communities and our hiring practices that give opportunity to people that really is what makes Mod special and has helped us to continue to manage during these strange and uncertain times as well. I've been with Mod about 3 years. I'm a senior director of enterprise systems, and so it's an interesting opportunity for me to get to partner with all of our business teams at Mod as they're all working through flexing.
so, I know your founders have been, like you say, very purpose oriented, very charitable. So during this crazy time, has that aspect of the founders come out even more so?
Well, absolutely. And it comes out in a few different ways. As an employer of many people, one of the first and fundamental things was making sure we were taking care of our employees. Mod Pizza is in 28 states. And so, you're dealing with a lot of variety with what COVID is doing regionally and how it's impacting communities. And so, how we are making sure that power of the platform and taking care of our people was of utmost importance. And so also with our customers and how we're managing what was happening in the communities, we certainly have always been very much into our philanthropic efforts, partnering with nationwide organizations to do food packing events, things like that. And so with a slightly different situation where you can't get a bunch of people in an auditorium and pack meals right now, we have turned some of those attentions to some initiatives, things that we call Project Purpose, some Operation Hunger. They've taken a few different forms where we have done increased partnership with communities, trying to find ways to leverage whether deep discounts or quick ways to feed health communities, a lot of our nurses and doctors in certain areas. So those are a lot of the programs that we continue to do. We happen to be in a Nurse Appreciation Week right now in certain geographies. And so, those are just some of the many ways that we're continuing to try to keep connected with our communities and figure out what's the best way we can continue to support them while we're continuing to keep Mod healthy and keep the business healthy.
So I know, Tara, you're in, probably the first hotspot that the United States had. Are your employees okay? Have you done okay?
We have done very well. I'm pleased to report, we are certainly leaning in, especially in a food, customer facing food restaurant situation. It was really important that we employ and are learning all of the right things. I mean, I don't get into those specifics, but as far as the safety and hygiene and all of those things, it's a lot to keep track of, regionally across 28 states and even in all the jurisdictions that can really be different, especially as we start to see the return to whatever they're defining it as, really, and how all of those variations will need to be managed. It's a lot of complexity.
Yeah, see, a CEO told me, he said, lockdown was easy. It was binary.
Yeah. Yep.
Reopening, he said, is going to be very complex. So, but, Tara, one of the nice things about this phase in the middle of all the doom and gloom has been all the acrobatics, right? I mean, you look at manufacturing companies, auto companies jumping into medical ventilators, last mile delivery, unbelievable acrobatics, all the healthcare heroics we're seeing and so on. In your business, not just you, but also your peers, what acrobatics have you seen? I would imagine your supply chains have been a pretty big hurdle to manage. What else? Talk about the acrobatics you've seen in the business.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yes, supply chain definitely. We'll come back to that because that continues to be, really, really changing by the day. When you think about it's that online ability to deliver. And so we had already started some pilot geographies with delivery, partnering with companies like DoorDash. And it was all about that speed of getting more to market and also increasing companies that we worked with, not just DoorDash, but Uber Eats and Postmates. And also, leaning in on some of the other customer expectations like pickup, curbside, and, some of those contactless and kind of in the middle options, depending again upon what was allowed, what the rules, guidelines, and what that customer expectation and comfort level was all about. And so it was really getting those digital channels up and running as quickly as possible, as far as possible. That was our chief lean in there.
Let's talk about your IT, because that's your big, I know you do a lot of different things, but IT is a big responsibility. How has the work from home worked? How has your SAP system stood up to the new challenges?
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, Mod Pizza is a 100% SaaS shop. So our ability to move remote was not without challenge, that it's technology and it's people, but we had access to our systems, an O365 shop. So naturally Teams became our bread and butter for video conference, et cetera. And, we'd actually, the whole transition from Skype to Teams was something we were already a little gray on. And that really helped us speed that up and get some laser focus there and help with that adoption, a little bit of you had to. And so that kind of helped there too, but also being 100% SaaS shop meant that we could access our SAP system, certainly anytime, any place. And no friction there, completely turnkey. And again, 100% across the board, but those chief systems, that's where your table stakes are, right? You have to make sure that they're operational. And so we were ahead of the game, I think, with that architecture.
I know last year, not last year, a couple of years ago, you were leading edge when it came to SAP's public cloud.
Yeah.
Now people are probably envious of you for being in the public cloud. So every cloud is a silver lining there, right? Even the SaaS cloud.
It's true. One thing that this is illustrated for me, again, being a 100% SaaS shop, is the different variations and flavors of SaaS.
Sure.
And when I think in terms also of, as an early adopter of S4 public cloud and the changes that we have been a part of and ridden along with, how well situated we were, and also we're a SuccessFactors user. So that was also, quite turnkey. But it's, just the ability to have optics into the health of your system is something that I think SAP has even recently raised the bar on as well. Wish I had that kind of optics across some of the other platforms.
Well, that's good to hear. Well, look ahead a little. So, obviously the food sector is changing quite dramatically, right? Both in terms of customer experiences based on this, based on the supply chain of food, which seems to be under different forms of stress. So look ahead. How is your sector and how is the pizza? Well, let's talk about the pizza market first, and then food in general. How is it likely to change?
Well, it's such a connected thing to the human behavior. It's you've got this kind of this dichotomy of the form and the function of it. There's the health, the safety, and the hygiene of it, and how, the controls are coming around with what you have access to where. So we just have to kind of lock in and operate within those guidelines. But then also it's all about data now. I mean, it's always been around data, but ever the more so now with getting those, the optics is far up in your supply chain as you can get, so that you can not just know what is there and what's not there. I mean, that's a component of mod, is we're planning promotions and certain types of, seasonal offerings and whatnot. And it's always been important, but you don't want to have a Canadian bacon and pineapple when you're looking at a pork shortage, and so it's how we are able to weave all of those things together, from an availability and marketing standpoint, while we're also really, really pulsed on what the consumers expect. And again, those kind of comfort levels.
Yeah.
So, the ability to get that data is what we've really leaned in on as well.
Yeah, it's funny. Every supply chain discussion I've been part of in the last couple of months has been China-centric. Well, it's way more than China, right? I mean, it's affecting everybody's supply chain.
Yeah.
So food in particular, like I say, all the meat packing issues and so on, it's going to be significant. Look ahead to the economy. What do you see? I'm talking to everybody. I'm asking this question. Do you see a sharp rebound? Is it a V? Is it a U, like a gradual recovery? Is it a W, spike up and down? Or is it an L? It's going to be dead for a while.
I wrestle with this one because, that the human in me wants to kind of know what's there, wants to know what to plan for and how to manage. And then I think I get the contradiction of still so much evolving and what we know, and testing and vaccines and all these other things that are going to unlock these milestones to allow certain human behaviors to start up again. And so my gut kind of tells me, just based on what I'm living through and what my company's living through, it's that W, at least for that, 18, 24, pick that period of time. I find it even much harder to, predict beyond that, especially as it pertains to food, and you think about how people's habits are changing, even our communication, doing this through video, and how weird it might have been in the first 2-3 weeks, and how people are now, going through that habit creation. Makes you wonder, and we're starting to, again, through data, understand even how people's eating and food habits are changing as their behaviors are changing,
So a W would make your reopening a very complex task, I would think. I mean, it's got to be community specific almost, right? 28 states, all over the place.
Yeah.
Do you have a group looking at reopening as a,
task force type mentality, right? Kind of tiger team, and it's evaluating, again, kind of the rules, guidelines, et cetera, versus what is right for our mod employees and the communities that, we know so much about through our interaction with them, and again, it's the complexity in one jurisdiction that says it's okay to now have dine in, but we're only going to continue to do curbside. It really is the question of where companies are creating one-way streets. We did this as a, reaction to still providing food, but that's going to be probably a one-way street, curbside pickup, those types of, expectations. And so kind of sorting out what those one-way streets are, making sure you operationalize them, while you're still managing all your elastic things, I think is going to get more interesting.
Yeah, it's funny, it's Mother's Day this weekend. So there's a restaurant my wife particularly likes. In Florida, our county has moved to restaurants can open at 25% capacity. And I've called them every day this week and they go, oh, we're still not sure we're going to open up. So, I mean, just because it's, the law says you can open up, it's not a complete open up, right? And the question becomes, will consumers be comfortable enough going in? So yeah, I can see what you're saying. What else? What would you like to share with fellow CIOs, fellow C-level executives? How have you stayed positive? I mean, you're smiling so much. It's wonderful to see.
Well, I feel like that's the one thing that, everybody is a leader, right? But leaders in leadership positions, more than anything, it's, tapping that resilience and tapping that, the power of positive. Every day brings a new challenge, whether it's, micro to macro. And, you know, I've read a lot of things that you're sharing, you know, in Deal Architect and other places, you know, just these common themes of crisis puts the magnifying lens on things that were already there, you know, whether it's in your work, your home life, your work life, etc. You know. And I will tell you, one of the things that I participated in right before COVID hit my world was an SAP and ASUG sponsored event around enterprise architecture. And it was the first one of its kind, and it was in Newtown Square, and it was an amazing event. I was very pleased and honored to attend it and get to be a part of some of those sessions and see where SAP is moving with their business architecture frameworks and other of those components. And I'll tell you, my key takeaway is, you know, it's your enterprise architecture skills are more necessary than ever, whatever your job is, CIO, CDO, CTO, whatever, you know. It's how do you kind of dust off, figure out where you are in your maturity and your management of it, you know, and how are we going to continue to manage the U, the W, the L, you know, whatever that is, you know, from a technology perspective. How do you get back to your pace layering even? You know, how do you really understand what you have, what you might not need 14 months, 18 months from now? And in a SaaS world, that's one of the kind of the blessings and a curse is you've got that flexibility. You can be more right size just in time, but it can be exhausting as well because you're constantly having to evaluate, is this the right thing? And they're all changing too at a rapid pace, you know? And so it's just that getting back to understanding what your business needs and how you're going to, you know, manage that. It's no longer transition architecture. I don't even like that term. I fire that term. It is just a constant building, but you better have some planning in there.
Well, stay positive, stay healthy.
Yeah.
And I look forward to,
Like,
you know, having a nice dinner with you sometime, if you're ever allowed to do that. Thank you very much.
thank you so much, Vinnie.
Bye-bye.